So welcome back. So I'm very excited to be filming this video because this is definitely one that I have a lot to say about. So for this video, I wanted to discuss my own view of PCOS, how I kind of see it and what I think it's all about, and how this view has helped me address it a little bit better. So basically, remember how I was saying in the previous videos that the causes of PCOS seem to be complex and they're unknown. I think that it is true that the causes are complex, but I think that some causes might be a little bit more obvious than we think. And I do think that another thing that confounds a lot of things is that from one woman to the other, the causes might vary. And so that means that the interventions will also vary. Or so what I mean is basically what will help one woman might not help another one, just because what is causing the PCOS might vary from one woman to the other. And I hope this will make more sense as I explain a little bit more. So here we go. So the way that I view PCOS, I think that PCOS is an evolutionary mechanism that has evolved to protect women. So what I think is happening is I think that when the body detects that there is something wrong, whether it be outside of you, whether it be there's a threat, an animal, a dangerous animal running after you, or there's a fire, or something outside or something within you, you're sick or you're intoxicated, then your body rings an alarm bell. And when your body rings that alarm bell, your body is entering what I call a survival mode, which is basically, I think, what PCOS is. So basically, what is that survival mode? Well, if there's something really wrong, whether outside or inside you, there's two things that your body wants to do. First of all, it wants to make sure that you will not be reproducing because, first of all, it wouldn't be a favorable environment for a developing baby to be in, and it wouldn't be good for you to have to worry about whatever stressor or whatever bad thing is going on outside or inside you. And because your body doesn't want to waste energy on reproduction as well, because there's something bad going on. The second thing I think is happening is your body is trying to make sure that you have the available resources to fight or flight. So what I mean by the available resources, and why I think that in PCOS we also often see elevated blood sugar, is that by having all that extra blood sugar going around in your body is making sure that you always have available energy to be able to run away or think quickly, right? And that is basically also by having also the male hormones that are increased a little bit. It might help with the muscle mass and all of that, once again helping you fight or flight. So that's how I view PCOS. I really view PCOS as a survival mode, and I think that viewing it like that kind of explains why all the reproductive stuff happens, but also all of the metabolic stuff also happens, because I think it's all trying to make sure that you survive, right? And when you're trying to survive, you don't want to reproduce, but you want to have everything that you need to be able to fight whatever is going on. So now that that is being said, I do think that the threshold required to kick into that survival mode varies significantly from one woman to another. And that's why some people don't have PCOS and some people have PCOS. I think that for some women, you don't need a lot of alarm bells going on for the body to go into that survival mode. And for other women, everything might be wrong around them, but they might never have any PCOS or PCOS-like symptoms. So I think that will really depend likely on your genetics or a mix of your genes and of things that have happened earlier in your life, maybe a little bit of what we call epigenetics, interactions between the genes and the environment. And I think that based on that will determine how much stressors are required for your body to kick into that PCOS survival mode. So that is how I view PCOS. Now, how can I use this view to help me with my condition? So here we go. So I think that there's 3 main things that can ring that alarm bell. I think that the first one is chronic stress. I think that if you are chronically stressed, that can definitely be enough for your body to say, okay, it's not time to reproduce. It's time to, make sure that I survive this, right? And you will often hear about women going through some traumas and then losing their period, and then some things get better and then whoops, it comes back. And then you might hear about some women going through other types of trauma, and then they might have an early menopause and they might not get their period back. So we can see how even with people who don't necessarily have a PCOS diagnosis, you can see how chronic stress can affect your period. And once again, you can see that this really does vary. So some people can go through pretty traumatic stuff and they will still their reproductive cycles will not be affected by it. And some people, they go through stress that is moderate and they might lose their period over it. So once again, keep in mind the individual variability of it. Then the second thing that I think can really ring that little alarm bell would be things like toxins, pathogens, and allergens. So what I mean, toxins is basically just you're exposed to something that is bad, and toxins are bad for anybody, right? Whether it be you or someone else or anybody, when they're exposed to that is bad. For example, if you have lead in your water, it wouldn't be good for anyone. Or if your food is poisoned, right? If you're eating a mushroom that is poisonous, that would just be bad for anyone. Pathogens, I'm talking more about like viruses and bacteria. So if you're exposed to that, it might have happened to you, or you might know of someone who got a really bad cold and then their period was just skipped that month. I know it happens to me. If I get really sick, like with a fever, my ovulation will be delayed. And I know of other people who don't have PCOS, and this also happens to them. So you can see that this can definitely influence your reproductive system. And it would make sense that your body would kind of want to say, whoops, this is not the right time. And then allergens is similar to toxins. It's just that allergens will vary from one person to another, right? Just like peanuts. Peanuts can be really good for one person, and then the other person, the body really doesn't like it. So I think that also being exposed to an allergen constantly could be something that could be affecting your body. And I will talk a little bit more about this in the next video. So stay tuned for that. Now, the third thing that I think can affect your PCOS is just lifestyle. If you're feeding your body things that aren't good, if your body doesn't have all the building blocks to repair itself and sustain itself, if you're not moving, not allowing those muscles to move, if you are miserable and not in a happy state of mind, all of that lifestyle, definitely if your body isn't feeling like it has everything it needs to function properly, I think that this could also definitely be something that could affect your reproductive cycle, especially if your diet is very, very poor and you're not getting all the vitamins and nutrients that you need, and your body is always having to eliminate super processed food, lots and lots of sugar and saturated fats. Well, of course, then your body is already taking all of that energy for that, so it won't have energy to reproduce it, or it won't want to reproduce in those situations. So I think that those are the main 3 things that can cause or modulate, maybe I should say, PCOS. And I think that when some of these get disrupted, that is when you kick into the survival mode. And like I said before, for some women, I think that they need a lot of disruptions to kick into that survival mode. And then for women who are diagnosed with PCOS, I think that the threshold is often pretty low. Now, from one woman to another, I think that for a lot, there's more than one of these 3 factors that is causing the PCOS. But I think that from one to the other, from one person to the other, the main factor might vary, right? So, and this is, I think, why, for example, you'll hear of some women who have PCOS, they lose weight and it really, really helps them. But then you have some other women who do the same thing. They eat super, super well. They have a super healthy lifestyle, but somehow they can't get rid of the PCOS, it's not improving at all. And I think that this is the reason. So for example, the person who has a super healthy lifestyle, lost weight, but her PCOS isn't going better, well, she might be dealing with chronic stress, or she might be exposed to something in her environment that is triggering the PCOS. And even though the lifestyle is all under control, there might be other stuff that is not addressed. Whereas the other woman that lost weight and saw significant improvements, well, maybe the main thing that was causing her PCOS was just the lifestyle. So yeah, for her, doing that will definitely help because the other things are already under control. So that is what I think is happening. Now, I will try to explain in more details how you can target these 3 different categories to try to make your PCOS a little bit better. And I will link a picture of all those factors and the models and how I think everything influence each other in the bottom, just if you're interested. I would love to have your input to know if you have any ideas or any critiques. I am open to that too, but I really think that this has really changed how I approach PCOS, and it has helped me see results. So stay tuned for the next video where I will explain how to try to get results based on this view of PCOS. Bye!